Stop scrolling. This is probably the reason you'll stay broke, even if your income keeps going up every single year. It doesn't matter how hard you work, how often you stay late, or how many times you tell yourself, "Next month I'll be more disciplined." If you don't fix this right now, your entire life will be nothing more than a loop of paying bills until you're too old to care. So let me ask you something uncomfortable. Do you work to live, or are you just living to pay bills? Because if you're honest, most people aren't actually living anymore. They're surviving. Every morning you wake up not because you're excited about life, but because you're scared of being late. You don't work because you love it. You work because your bills are more consistent than your motivation. The alarm goes off. You drag your body out of bed. Half your soul still asleep. You get ready on autopilot. And before your day even starts, you're already mentally exhausted. Welcome to the modern loop. Work, stress, pay bills, repeat. Over and over again until you forget what it feels like to actually live. At this point, you're not even a person anymore. You're a money-generating machine. And somehow the money is still never enough. Every month the same story. Income comes in. You feel a little relief, maybe even a little powerful for a moment, and then slowly, quietly, it all gets taken away by things you barely even enjoy. Rent, subscriptions, food, random expenses, small, harmless purchases that don't feel like much in the moment, but stack up like silent killers. And before you realize it, your balance is back to a number that makes you hesitate to even spend $10. This isn't bad luck. This is a system designed to keep you moving but never actually progressing. You're given just enough to survive, but never enough to feel free. And the worst part is, you get used to it. You start calling it normal. You start saying things like, "That's just life." But deep down, you know something is off. The problem isn't just how much you make. It's the direction you're going. Most people are obsessed with increasing their income, but they never stop to ask the real question: what is this money actually doing for me? Because if every raise just turns into a more expensive lifestyle, you're not leveling up. You're just playing a more expensive version of the same game. A harder level, more pressure, more stress, same trap. It feels like progress, but it's actually just a treadmill. You're running, sweating, burning energy, but you're not moving forward at all. And the scary part is, this treadmill is designed to feel normal. Every day you're flooded with distractions. Discounts, flash sales, notifications, other people's highlight reels making you feel like you're behind. You start comparing without even realizing it. You feel like you need more, you deserve more, you should have more. So you spend more. Not because you need to, but because you've been conditioned to. And now you're working harder, not for your future, but to pay for your past decisions. Payments that once felt small now feel heavy. Subscriptions you forgot about keep draining you. Tiny choices stacking into a life that feels heavier than it should be. And here's the truth that stings. You already know this. You're not stupid. You're just stuck. Because this system doesn't require you to be dumb. It just needs you to be tired, distracted, too busy to think. So you keep going without ever stepping back to ask where you're actually headed. But the only way out of this loop isn't working harder. It's pausing long enough to see the pattern. Let me give you a real example. Imagine two people. Same starting point. Same salary. Let's call them Alex and Brian. Alex gets a raise and immediately upgrades everything. Better apartment, more expensive food, new subscriptions, maybe a new phone on payments because I deserve it. Brian gets the same raise and changes almost nothing. He increases his savings, builds investments, keeps his lifestyle stable. Fast forward 5 years. Alex is still stressed, still chasing, still feeling like it's never enough. Brian has options. And in this world, options are the real currency. The problem isn't income. It's behavior. Because money doesn't fix bad habits. It amplifies them. If you can't manage a small amount, a bigger amount just creates bigger problems. Now ask yourself something honestly. When was the last time you actually tracked where your money goes? Not guessed. Not estimated. Tracked. Because if you don't have data, you're just guessing your way through life. And people who live based on guesses usually end up with regrets. Think of your finances like a bucket. Your income is water. If the bucket is leaking, it doesn't matter how much water you pour in, it will never stay full. And most people, instead of fixing the leaks, they just try to pour more water. More work. More hustle. More stress. Same result. An empty bucket. So let's fix it. First, you need awareness. Track everything. Every dollar. Even the small stuff you think doesn't matter. because those small things are exactly what's draining you. Second, build a system before you spend. The moment money comes in, you decide where it goes. Not at the end of the month. Not after everything is gone. At the beginning. Because if you wait for leftovers, there won't be any. Third, train your ability to say no. Because your biggest problem isn't low income. It's low resistance to temptation. Every discount feels urgent. Every desire feels important. But most of it is just noise. Cheap dopamine that costs you your future. You see something online late at night. It's on sale. Your brain says, this is a good deal. But if it wasn't on sale, you wouldn't even think about it. So you didn't save money. You spent money you were never supposed to spend. That's not smart. That's manipulation. Fourth, stop upgrading your lifestyle every time your income increases. This is where most people lose the game. Income goes up a little, expenses jump twice as fast. It should be the opposite. Income up means security up, not pressure up. Now let's talk about the next level. Quiet wealth. This is where things change. You stop needing validation. You stop caring about appearances. Because you know what you're building. People might look at you and think you're average, but they don't see your foundation. Truly financially strong people are quiet. They don't need to prove anything. Because they're not chasing attention. They're building freedom. And freedom is quiet. It doesn't show off, but it feels different. Imagine being able to say no without fear. No to toxic work. No to bad environments. No to decisions that pull you backward. That's real power. And it doesn't come from one big moment. It comes from small decisions repeated daily. Choosing discipline over impulse. Choosing long-term over instant gratification. Because at the end of the day, the world is full of people who look rich but are financially fragile, and a small number of people who look average but are actually free. So we go back to the question, do you work to live, or are you living to pay bills? If it's the second one, don't panic. You're not alone.